The third most important point that we talk about in upskilling is where and when an employee should implement the skills that he has learned. The art of implementation. As I already told you, implementation is the key to any skills, any success. But we should know where to implement. If we have not learned that, then the skill learning is not complete. Just acquiring a skill or learning how to implement the skill, okay, yes, that's important. But knowing when to implement, the timing is the most important thing. I always say that in my training sessions. You can be a great CEO, you can be a great strategist. You can talk strategies just like that. You can create strategies just like that, just like instant thing that you can create. But you should talk to people who really understand what strategy is, or else there's no use of you being a strategy master. You should talk to people, you should sense people that they don't have any idea about what strategy is. There's no use of talking to them about strategy. It is that person's mistake. Yeah, of course, it is his mistake. He didn't get a chance of, or he didn't get a chance like you to upskill himself, but it is also your mistake that you're not realized that where to implement the skill that you have learned. Be it technical, be it behavioral, be it any skills for that concern. The most important thing that you should understand basically is always it's like you have to make yourself understand one thing is that implementing a skill set is the most important thing, but even most important thing is when, where, how are you putting this implementation. Always think of this. Art of implementation doesn't come overnight. Art of implementation is something that you're doing towards achieving the level of mastery. So the third most important thing in upskilling. And the fourth most important, and this is very, very important, of course, the most important point that upskilling happens with this. Without this, upskilling is, I don't think so, it doesn't make sense. You can just say a word called upskilling, but it doesn't make any sense of there is upskilling happening in your organization. If there is no continuous learning, upskilling is not happening. It is upskilling, right? It is not upskilled. You're done. There's an end for upskilling. No, there is no end for upskilling. Upskilling is a continuous process. It is a continuous mechanism, I can say it. It is just like a cycle that you acquire a skill, you practice it, and then you become a master in it, and then you teach to people on how you acquire that skill. And again, you start polishing that skill even more. And then again, after you polished or after you have learned some additional thing in that skill or additional learning that you have had in the skill, it goes back to the same cycle again where you have to again practice, implement, become a master, and share it with others. This is like a round mechanism. Nobody can escape from this. There is no bypass for this. There is no shortcuts for that. It is a cycle that you have to run. And this is just for one skill. If you are having more skills, if you're having, let's say, 5 or 6 skills, then again you have to have that as well. So, like this, there are so many factors that needs to be understood on how things are working. So, with these points, upskilling, you would have understood that how it is so important in the modern era. So, when you say upskilling an employee, it doesn't mean or it is just not a process that it happens. Every individual has its own way of doing things on how it matters for him. And when you are talking about upskilling to an employee, always say them it is not a training program that you're doing. And you're not saying that upskilling is connected to your appraisal. If you don't upskill, you lose your job. No, don't make that. Don't create a kind of a hostile situation for upskilling an employee. Never do that because people don't learn. because we have not done that in our life. Yeah, of course, we are afraid of marks. We study for that. But after that, do we really go back and see that subject again? No, we don't do that because we hate that. We thought that this subject would have changed our life. So we did something. We did all the gimmicks so that we just came out of that. We just escaped the challenge and we never want to look back again. So please don't do that. As HR folks, the fraternity that we are talking about, please understand that upskilling is a continuous mechanism. It is a process that needs to be implemented. It is not a strategy, it is not some technique that you have just once in you implement and it you don't have to worry about it. It's not like that. It is a mechanism. And every individual has to get in this cycle. If he realizes that the cycle is important, then he will understand the importance of learning. Then he understands the importance of skills. Then also he understands that, yeah, he is feeling that importance in the organization. Because you are giving a sense of an individual that if you're not upskilling, you're diminishing your skill set. You're not losing your value. No individual loses value if he loses skill. We don't believe that. Value system has so many other attributions. So losing a skill, yes, of course, it might not make you an employable person. But the most important thing that you should understand is that losing a skill doesn't lose the value for you. But losing the morale, losing the confidence, losing the value system makes an employee lose his job. So, when you're skilled, when you're talented, when you're competent, yeah, all these three things are there. What is there? Your job is secure. You can sustain any career, any country, any company, be it small or big, you can sustain. So, creating a sustainable career path is the most important thing that every individual has to think about. So, it's not about, we should not think about how to sustain in a company, but how to sustain in a career, how to sustain in a profession, how to get labeled yourself that this is the type of professional that you want and you have become that professional. That is most important thing. And upskilling has the very, very important and it plays a very, very vital role in understanding this as well. Hope you like this video, and we are going to talk about a lot of things about how and where this skill can be even more polished. And we're going to come up with strategies, different techniques. So do stay tuned to our channel.